Hi, everybody. Dan Illman along with Ashley Mailloux, and we're looking at three stakes races at Laurel Park on Saturday. Race number 5 kicks off a 50-cent pick 5 with a 12% low takeout rate. Let's take a look at the field for the Big Dreyfus. This is a 1.125 race for fillies and mares. And Ashley, the number 6, Atomic Blonde, 9-5 on the morning line, is a deserving favorite. She's raced 3 times in North America since being imported from Europe, and she's run well all 3 times.
She has, but she hasn't been able to at least get the job done yet. So, I think you can maybe take the option of price shopping in here and going in different directions. And, Graham Motion's going to send out a duo in here. I think both are respectable. And then there's some bigger prices here, horses that are changing barns and all of that jazz. But I understand why Atomic Blonde is 9-5 when it's all said and done.
Taking a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector, a big price is expected to make the lead. That's the number 5, Cupid Strike, who's 30-1 on the morning line, stepping way up in class. Sparkle Blue, the number 3, couldn't get close to the pace last time out due to a very poor start. She has more tactical speed, and I think Graham Motion and Jorge Ruiz would be very happy if they're sitting second off the long shot.
I completely agree. I think looking at this kind of pace setup in here, obviously Cupid Strike, huge price in here. You're not going to really change race tactics at that point. So I think Sparkle Blue, I know this one's been a little further back in some of the efforts, but I do think against this group, she could get a good trip, knowing that in the past she has flashed some early speed.
You'll note the LP flag over the chiclet of the number 6, the morning line favorite Atomic Blonde. That indicates that she has the fastest late Timeform US pace rating. She's hoping for a fast and contested pace. The one is community adjusted, stepping up into a stake for the first time. She made a winning debut for trainer Arnaud Delacour in this race at Pimlico. Now, this is a second level allowance event. Some pretty solid runners in this race, and community adjusted got a beautiful trip down towards the inside.
Certainly did a really good trip, and obviously, off a long layoff, I think this is a good way to start your 2023 campaign. It's a 5-year-old mare who's pretty lightly raced when it's all said and done, and she's just going to end up kicking away here. Much the best. You have to think, looking at that 1 1/16, 1 1/8, no problem.
And with that sort of tactical speed and an inside post position, she might work out a similar pace tracking ground saving trip. The number 2 is Candy Light, one of the 2 horses in here for trainer Graham Motion. She's going to be making her 3rd start of the form cycle, an improved performance last time out. I talked to Graham early Thursday morning, and he said that there was just no closing going on at Ellis Park on June the 19th, and maybe Candy Light was compromised by the way the race course was playing.
I agree. So I agree with that. I mean, looking at her trip, I think she raced very well, but she was far off of it. And looking at the times of the race as well, they didn't go that fast in those opening kind of quarters in the opening half. So I do think it played against her, but to see her kind of unleash her normal late run, I think is always a positive sign. You have to think now 3rd start off the layoff, she can also take a step forward.
I really liked the performance last time from the number 3, Sparkle Blue. She stretched out to 1.5 miles in the Kirtana, and she was just pinballed leaving the gate. This is a filly that likes to be relatively close to the pace. She was basically in between horses and covered up throughout, swung widest into the stretch, and still got up for 3rd. I don't mind her cutting back in distance, and I think a good trip is coming with a good break.
A really troubled trip for that first time going 1.5 miles, right? Not what she would usually see in her races. One time in the past, she had been shuffled far back and wasn't able to do anything. So to see her show a new dimension on that stretch out from 1.5 miles to 1.5 miles, I agree, Dan. I really like her cutting back in distance, just knowing in the past at 1.16 miles, even 1.1 miles, she's ran well. And I always like that move by trainers. I think there's another filly in here for Graham that really looks the part and could take a step forward.
The number 4 is Lady Pucci, making her first start for trainer Rudy Sanchez Salomon. And this one has tried some stakes races in the past. She won an off-the-turf stake at Laurel, going a 1-turn mile. On turf, though, I wonder if she's just a little bit beneath that kind of horse, more of a high-level allowance runner.
Yeah, looking at her progression in the barns that she's been in, she's kind of hopped around the last couple of years since she started her days at the racetrack. And I agree. I just don't know if she's quite this level. She's tried stakes races. She's only beaten a handful of runners in each of them. And then more recently, I feel like as a 4-year-old, her form just hasn't been there yet. You wonder if when they're going to make decisions to maybe change the level she's been at or even the trip. She's kind of been a runner in those last couple. She's pretty far back, and knowing just others can be that far back and make a move, I do think it's a little tough to endorse her in this spot.
Cupid Strike is up next, the expected pace setter on our Timeform US pace projector. And she probably gained a good amount of fitness from her first start of the year last time out. She pressed the pace. That second quarter was faster than the first, and then she got a little bit tired. So I would expect her to be sharp. I would expect her to make the lead. It's all a question of whether she's good enough.
That is the big question. I mean, looking at her races and who she's beat, I think they're respectable for those levels, but she obviously hasn't faced this level. And looking at others in here coming out of graded stakes competition in New York, Kentucky, you name it, the waters are certainly deeper, but she is interesting, as you mentioned, from that pace perspective. It can obviously muddle things early on. And the fitness is correct as well, right? She's got that mile effort under her belt, mile and an eighth. I still think she'll be tactical early on, but I could see maybe a little bit of a speed and fade move from her.
Atomic Blonde was a group winner in Italy last year, and she's run well, as we mentioned, in all three starts for trainer Christophe Clement against some pretty good company. Two back in the Sheepshead Bay, just a glacial pace in a four-horse field where she was put on a chase against a gate-to-wire winner. And then this race, a high-level allowance won by a graded stakes winner. Skims, I think, is already a grade 2 winner. Atomic Blonde just sort of down inside. She's going to have to alter course all the way to the outside. And when she does get in the clear, she comes with a useful run to finish second. But this is her, right? She's kind of at the mercy of race and pace luck simply because her running style at times puts her there.
It does. I mean, it leaves you with a lot to do late. And luckily, she hasn't been shuffled so far back in these races. But my concern is she's got a great late turn of foot. We saw it there at Belmont. But you go down the page, they have had her closer to the pace. She's been caught 2 starts back. She was just tracking throughout, and she tired a little bit. And then she had a little bit of a different trip last time out. And it makes me wonder what's going to make the difference, right? She's running very well, and maybe the competition that she faced was better in those races. So maybe it's just the class relief alone coming to Laurel Park. But I have reservations at what I think is probably going to be a really short price.
I won't be surprised if the 7 deciding vote really perks up and runs her best in her third start of 2023 for the underrated trainer Edward Graham. Deciding vote's always been a very consistent horse. She got washed off in her seasonal debut, a race they probably used to build fitness, and then she ran better in this start at Parks last time out, where she got a very good inside-out trip. She's in between horses here. She's going to run second. She just gets out-kicked by the favorite Bipartisanship.
Yeah, big name there, Bipartisanship winning this race at Parks. And I agree. I think the older, mares and just horses in general, they usually need a race or two. And in the past, yes, she's run very well. She's run well in the past off a layoff in the Dahlia. But I think now it's maybe taken her a couple to get going. So I like that they were able to take her on the road. She wasn't able to defend her title 2 back. And she should improve. She loves the course at Laurel Park, and I can see the upside here. She probably will offer value. And you mentioned the trainer doesn't get as much respect as he should, but has had a good year so far.
Maryland-bred Coconut Cake finished an honest 4th in this race last year and is now going to stretch out off 2 sprints, including this successful performance going 3/4 of a mile in the Jamila. This has the long stretch at Laurel, and Coconut Cake had a lot of work to do, but it got a beautiful ground-saving ride under Sheldon Russell to get up late. And if you're worried about distance, don't be. She's performed well going longer in the past.
She's kind of been on that gradual stretch out this year. She comes from the back of the pack here. And I think that it's great that you pointed out that she is coming out of some sprints, because she has been towards the back of the pack, where in 2 turn races, she is a tad closer. She's able to still kind of unleash her rally in the stretch and get parts of it. You can see last year she was able to win in the Maryland Millions Day. Very impressive. She was favored in there facing those fellow Maryland breds. She does have that local experience. I wonder, though, when you look at some of her best performance, they have been against her fellow type.
Let's take a look at our top selection for the first of 3 stakes races at Laurel Park on Saturday. We're in agreement. We both like Sparkle Blue. I'm hoping for a much better start than last time, and she settles into a good, comfortable rhythm, sitting second or third.
Completely agree. I'm hoping that she'll just be a couple of lengths off the pace setters. And for me, I need the Grand Motion Exacta here. I think both of his fillies, they're very different, but they're very consistent types. They're 4-year-olds. They're developing. I think they're actually getting a little better with age as well. So for me, it was a tough decision between the two, but I did think Sparkle Blue's run style was preferable in this spot.
Ashley's going 3, 2, 6, and 1. I'm going 3, 6, 7, and 8 in the Big Dreyfus, the first leg of a 50-cent pick 5 with a low 12% takeout. Good luck.